Hello, welcome to another podcast episode. Today we're going to talk about wave, at least the chord changes to that. I put out a lesson video on a chord melody arrangement for that on the YouTube channel a few weeks ago. And recently I've put together a few PDFs and some articles on Substack. So if you're looking for some resources to go along with this podcast episode, check out the links in the description below. There's one link to join my email newsletter, and you get 2 PDFs associated with this talk, and they go right to your inbox. I did find that it takes a few minutes, but you'll enjoy those etudes. There's a comping etude and a soloing etude. So let's begin by talking a little bit about one of the first things that I put together on this tune, which is some chord scales. So I'm just going to briefly discuss some of the concepts behind these rather than going note for note through each one. Let's say we have D major 9. Of course, we can associate the arpeggio, say a 4-note D major 7 arpeggio, with the major scale. So that begins the A sections. Now, when we end the A sections, or maybe vamp at the beginning, we have a D minor. So here I'm playing a D minor 9 and a G 13. So then, rather than pulling from D major or the key of 2 sharps, we can work with the key of no sharps, no flats, C major. But we're going to want to understand how that sounds as it relates to D minor and, say, G13. So we have an interesting interplay between minor and major throughout this tune. So applied to the 1 chord, like we just talked about. Also with the 5 chord, we might pull more from the D harmonic minor, and when applied to A, let's say A7 flat 13. Now, a related chord here that comes on early in the progression is the B flat diminished 7. Here, what I recommend you working with is work with the D harmonic major and apply that from the B flat, or if you can think of this as an A7 over B flat. That would be from A. That would be from the B flat. We have a 2-5 over to the G chord, and on the 5 chord, we can incorporate the flat 9, and that's another opportunity to work with that harmonic major type sound, and that would be the G harmonic major applied to the D. That would be kind of a Mixolydian flat 9. Of course, we don't have to limit ourselves to that exact chord scale. You can open this up to other chord scales as well, but just kind of a recommended starting point. We have the 4 chord in major, and then we have the 4 chord in minor, the minor 6. Here, I'd recommend working with the melodic minor scale as a good starting point on this. So that actually gives us 4 note collections that we can work from here, and those include the major scale and its modes, harmonic major and its modes, harmonic minor and its modes, and melodic minor and its modes as well. So there's just a kind of a sampling of some of the chords and the chord scales um, that I wrote out there on the Substack article. Okay, let's talk about the comping and some of the chord voicings. I also did a Substack article on this, and then this is actually one of those etudes as well that is included in what we mentioned earlier in the podcast. Basic concept on this is that we're going to have root notes for these voicings that are either on string 5 or string 6 based on the chord. Right, so here on D major 9, I'm working with a root note on string 5. Okay, and then on the middle two strings we have the essential tones of the chord that help to identify the chord. So in this case, 3 and major 7. And then on string 2, in general, we're going to have a 9 or a 5 or maybe an alteration of some kind. So we move up to B flat diminished 7, right? Same concept, but now string 6 has the root note, flat 7, 3, and we get the flat 5 on string 2. And if you work with this concept, you'll find that your voice leading works very smoothly, and that's the whole kind of purpose of that article and the etude. A minor 7, and then you can really observe, what remains the same, what changes as you descend D7 flat 9 to the G major 7, G minor 6, and on the G flat, or maybe F sharp, let's say F sharp 13, we have this little descending line that works nicely on string 2 that can also be applied to the F sharp minor and D7 flat 9. So we get this nice little chromatic motion there. E9, B flat 7. This is what gives us more of that minor kind of flavor. Flat 6, pretty typical in minor, to the 5 chord, and then again vamping on the G13. Now for comping, I recommend really anchoring yourself in some of the real basic patterns and then letting it grow from there. Okay, so something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 to begin. And then taking and anticipating the next let's say beat, or playing a half beat before 1 and the next chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there as an example. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about the etude, single line etude, and it's really kind of a study in playing chord tones on strong beats primarily. It does have some other interesting examples in there of trying to get some forward motion and maybe implying different chord changes as you're playing through the chord changes of the tune. So I'll play a little bit through a few measures of that. So part of the purpose there is to play lines that suggest what the chord changes are and suggest what the chord changes are doing. So there you're working with chord tones and in particular on strong beats, and that can really guide the listener through the chord changes, whether there's a piano player or not. Or if you're just playing on your own and want to get out the sound of the tune and for it to sound like the changes of the tune as you're playing. So you'll find those chord scales really helpful. So check out the Substack article for those chord scales as well as the chord voicings. And then if you want to dig a little deeper, join our email newsletter and get those PDFs and study those. And then if you have any questions, just email me and I'll help you out with that. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening. Do hope you enjoy this. This podcast is also available as a video version to Lessons and Talks members of the YouTube channel, to Substack members, as well as on the community member area on the fretprints.com website. Enjoy your practice session, and I'll talk to you all on the next one.